Dear students, welcome to the another video of Edwins. Today we will discuss about the pollination and its types. So what is pollination? Pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the flower. We know that flowers are the reproductive part of the plants, so it have male reproductive part and female reproductive part. In male reproductive part and female, okay, in male reproductive part we can observe that two parts. One is filament, another one is anther. This is collectively called the androecium. Okay, so two parts, that is anther and filament. These anther contain the pollen grains. Okay, and in female reproductive part it have three parts. Okay, the first, the topmost part, that is called stigma. The elongated neck-like or tubular-like part, this is called style. And the bulge part at the end, this is called ovary, which contain ovules or eggs. These are collectively called gynoecium. Okay, so male reproductive part is known as the androecium and the female reproductive parts are known as gynoecium. So the pollination is actually transfer of these pollen grains which contain inside the anther, the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the female reproductive part, that is from anther to the stigma. Okay, this process is known as the pollination. Okay, so pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the flower or flowers. Okay, why flower or flowers? We will discuss it in its types. So this is pollination. Next, its types. The types of the pollination. Okay, first one is the self-pollination. What is self-pollination? When the transfer of pollen grains, the criteria of the self-pollination, first one, that is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or the different flower of the same plant. What is this? If this is okay, this is a flower and this is the another one. This is same plant, that is plant A. When the condition may be the pollen grains of these flower contain both the male and female reproductive part, that is androcium and gynocium. So the pollen grains may be transferred from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or to the different flower of the same plant. Okay, that is of the same flower or different flower of the same plant. Okay, so based on this transfer, the cell pollination are two types. One is autogamy, another one is geitonogamy. Okay, what is autogamy? When the transfer of the pollen grains occurs into the same flower, that is from the anther of a flower and it transferred to the stigma of the same flower. This is called the autogamy. Okay, but when the pollen grains are transferred to the different flower of the same plant, this is known as geitonogamy. Okay, this is clear. That is what is autogamy and what is geitonogamy. This is about the self pollination. First, second type, that is the cross pollination. Cross pollination, what is cross pollination? Cross pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the one flower to the another flower of different plants. What is the criteria then? If this is the flower or plant A, this is plant A, and here another plant, that is B. Okay, this is the B. The transfer of the pollen grains from the A to B or B to A. This process is known as cross pollination. So in cross pollination, both plants are different. Okay, the transfer of the pollen grains within the different plants' flowers. This is called the cross pollination. So for this transfer, of course, something or someone should need to transfer these pollen grains. They are called the transfer of the pollen grains in cross pollination occurs by the agents. Which agents? both biotic and abiotic. In biotic, that is insects, animals, sometimes human also, and abiotic agents, that is air, water. Okay, so this is the type of the pollination, that is self pollination and cross pollination. Self pollination is the transfer of the pollen grains within the same plant and within the same flower or different flower of the same plant. And in case of cross pollination, this is occurs between two different plants, the flowers of the two different plants. So what are the advantages and disadvantages? In self pollination, that is advantage and disadvantage. First, in self pollination, self pollination is more efficient because it do not need any agent. No need any agent. But disadvantage, it will carry any genetic or physical diseases. Okay. Also, here have an advantage, that is the wastage of pollens are less. Why? Because it transferred through the self. Okay, so many pollens are not needed. In case of cross pollination, advantage is, of course, this is no disease are carried first. Secondly, of course, variation occurs. Variations means different characters, new characters. Okay, and disadvantage, that is depends on agents for the transfer of the pollen. Number one, and number two, wastage of pollen is more. Okay, so this is the advantages and disadvantages both in case of self pollination and cross pollination. Okay, so that's all for the today's video. If you have any doubt, you may ask in our comment section. We will discuss it in our next video. And if you like to get more such informative video, you may subscribe our YouTube channel Edwins and also follow our Facebook page Edwins. Thank you.
Edwins, learn, grow, succeed.